Hello folks, I'm Alex. This is Alex Unabridged. Welcome or welcome back to the channel if that is the case. Yes, time for a bit of a mid-year check-in. Have a little look back at how my reading's been going so far in 2025. This is inspired by the mid-year freakout tag, but I didn't necessarily want to just do it as a tag. So yes, I've been inspired by some of the questions on that tag, but I'm just doing this in a bit more of a chilled, rambly way. So let's start with some stats then for my reading in 2025 so far. I have read 30 books so far this year, plus there's 2 DNFs. 6 of the 30 that I did complete were rereads as well. So compared to the first half of 2024, that's down quite a bit. That's down by 26 books. I'd read 56 books by this point in 2024. So it's quite a big difference in my reading rate this year, which is no bad thing, I have to say. I am enjoying the slower pace of my reading. As I've said before on the channel, I've been super busy this year, both with kind of projects, work-based projects, things like that, training for a new career, and just general life stuff. Adulting has been a bit challenging this year, to say the least. And so it's been good to just, remove some of the pressure I put on myself to read tons, to get through loads of books and just chill, basically. And I'm enjoying my reading so much at the moment, which is great. So out of those 30 books that I did read, 26 were audio, 3 were ebooks and 3 were physical books. So yeah, I'm definitely favouring audio heavily these days as well, largely because the sort of stuff I'm doing during the day is very word-based, lots of reading, lots of, sort of intense reading, when I'm editing, proofreading, things like that. And so I don't have the eyes for text in the evening, but I have the brain space for audio. So yeah, audio's, I've always been a fan of audio, but I've definitely gone hard on the audio this year so far. My average rating for books is about 4 stars. Definitely having a great time with the vast majority of stuff that I'm reading. I've only had 2 5-star reads so far, but that's probably because I'm just trying to be a bit more discerning about what I give 5 stars to. I've tended to be a little bit liberal in how I hand out 5-star ratings in the past, but I want to save them now for like the absolute cream of the crop books. So yeah, so there's less of them than has been in the past in terms of the ratio, but there's still plenty of 4 and 4.5 star reads in amongst that 30. So yeah, still having a great time with the vast majority of things that I read. Half my reading this year has been horror, 15 of those 30, which definitely is up from last year. Last year I'd really got into science fiction, so I read tons and tons of science fiction, and I let my horror slide a bit, and I've definitely found the love again of horror this year so far. But I'm still reading science fiction. 8 of those 30 were kind of more pure science fiction, although you could add some in from the horror pile as well, because some of that is essentially space horror. I've also read 5 fantasy books, which is more than I usually would. Fantasy, I'm just starting to make inroads into that genre a bit more. And I've also read 2 classics, which don't really fit within the kind of the genres. I don't read many classics generally anyway, but I do like to dip in every now and again. So there we go, those are some stats for you. So let's have a little look through some favourite reads of mine. So my favourite standalone read, I think, has to be Hampton Heights by Dan Kois. This was just a really charming, slightly cozy, but really just good fun, nostalgic little book that as soon as I started it, I was chuckling along. I was connecting with the characters. The vast majority of the characters are teenage boys, and it's all about them kind of navigating the friendships that they make, or the kind of the connections that they make with the other boys that they meet in the story, and just the imagination of it. It's a wonderful little book, and I highly recommend it. It's one that I will definitely go back to when I want a comfort read. It's one that stuck with me and that I am quite eager to read again. My favourite sequel, I think, has to be House of Open Wounds by Adrian Tchaikovsky, which is the second book in the Tyrant Philosophers trilogy series. At the moment, it's a trilogy, but there potentially is more to come. I think there is a novella coming out towards the end of the year. And whether there'll be more full novels, I don't know. There's definitely scope for it. The universe is, we've not explored it all by any means, and things at the end of the third book were left a little bit, there were questions. But this one, House of Open Wounds, I absolutely adored this. This made me laugh, this made me cry. I was completely absorbed in it from start to finish. It's got some cracking returning characters from the first book. It's got lots of new, really interesting, intriguing characters. Characters you love to hate, and really it opens the world up massively as well. The first book is very focused on one city. It's called The City of Last Chance, and it's focused on one city, whereas this really opens it up because you are largely in this field hospital, this very strange field hospital, kind of run by a ragtag bunch of outcasts and misfits, that's so just behind the front line of this ongoing war that moves around quite a lot of the world. Brilliant book. Tchaikovsky's writing fabulous as always. My favourite reread, I think, has to be Salem's Lot, which I have reread multiple times over the years, and I've reread it a few times relatively recently. But for some reason, this particular reread instance was just so enjoyable. I think partly because it's one of those where like life infiltrated into the book. There was one scene reasonably early on where I had to put the book down because there was a noise in the house that kind of came into the scene, if you like, if you know what I mean. I was so absorbed, and then there was a noise in the house, and it freaked me the hell out. And I think just feeling so absorbed in it again made it a really good reread. I do love that book, and it's I think it's gone up in my ranking of Stephen King's for the moment because of that reread. Biggest disappointment. This one probably has to be one of the DNFs, and a recent DNF. This is The Ritual by Adam Neville. And disappointing because for just over half the book, I was in it. I was engaged. I was having fun. It's flawed. I had niggles with quite a few bits about it, but it was entertaining. It was creepy as hell, and I was invested in it. And then it shifts in part two. It shifts in terms of the type of horror book that it is. The first part is very much survival horror, folk horror, and it's 4 guys on a camping trip, lost in the remote wilderness of Sweden, being stalked by something in the woods. My kind of thing. And the second part shifts and it becomes a different sort of horror, and all the things that niggled me about the first part ramped way up really quickly, and I went from being invested and entertained to like bored really, and actually actively kind of really disliking the book in a matter of an hour on the audio, and it was a bit of a wrench to have to DNF it at that stage because I was so far into it, but I just really didn't want to read anymore, and so it was really disappointing because it was doing so well for me. And then it really just turned on a sixpence, and I was out, as I say, really quickly. So yeah, that was quite disappointing. I will try some more Adam Neville because I really like the sound of his books, the concepts, the premises, etc. And I want to give him another chance with a different book. So yeah, I'll go back and try something else at a later date. But that one, quite disappointing. Biggest surprise. This one has to go to Burnt Offerings by Robert Marasco. This is part of my horror reading project, 20th century UK and US horror, which I started this year. And this one was a recommendation from my good buddy Troy. I didn't know anything about it. It's not one that I'd ever heard of. And it's brilliant. I don't know why it isn't talked about as much as some of the other kind of well-known horrors from that era, sort of, the 70s. Late 70s, early 80s. yeah, a great haunted house type story, really atmospheric and great psychological horror. And really surprised me at how much I enjoyed it at the time and how much it stuck with me and how much it inspired me to go off and read more haunted house horror novels, which is a subgenre of horror which I had never really been into. I'd never really kind of ventured into much because I didn't think it was really for me. I've read a couple over the years, but I really hadn't gone into it, and I've read quite a few more since reading Burnt Offerings. It's definitely kicked off an interest and a love for haunted house stuff. So yeah, great surprise that one, and thanks again, Troy, for that recommendation. Okay, a favourite fun or trashy read, a book that basically just made me happy. That has to go to Xenos by Dan Abnett, which is the first in the Eisenhorn quadrilogy, I think it is. And this is Warhammer 40k, Warhammer 40,000. It's one of the tie-in slash kind of lore novels. It's one of the novels that kind of goes into, characters from that universe, explores the universe more, the society, all of that kind of stuff. Which I'm interested in, very interested in. I don't play Warhammer, I do paint the miniatures. I love the miniatures. But I really just love the universe and the lore of it. It's a dystopian, science fantasy, far future setting where it is grimdark. It's war, constantly at war, several wars going on a galactic scale, and it is just bonkers. It's absolutely bonkers, the setup of it. And yeah, this was great because this just expanded my knowledge of some of the lore, the universe, and I could listen to it whilst I painted as well, which is always great. And painting something and listening to something which connects to that is fantastic. So yeah, had great fun with that. Got the next 3 lined up in my Audible library, ready to go. Okay, favourite cozy read. This one is a cozy horror, and this one is A House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher. Yeah, I was really impressed with this one. I've read a couple of T. Kingfishers recently and loved them both, but this one was just more cozy. It's it's set in I think North Carolina, perhaps, but it's got a good, really lovely sort of southern tone to it. It's got some creepiness to it. It's weird in places, but it's the right sort of weird and the right amount of weird. It's very imaginative, it's very creative, and I really, really like T. Kingfisher's voice as a writer. She has a real warmth to her writing, to her characters, and to how she describes, the environment, etc., the atmosphere. And that warmth, especially when it comes to characters, certainly gives a cozy vibe for me. I really, really enjoyed both of those, but I think A House with Good Bones was probably the coziest. Favourite new author for me, anyway, not a debut author, but like new to me, has to be T. Kingfisher. I just picked up What Moves the Dead last month on a whim. I've been mood reading a lot, and I've heard lots of great reports. And I know Pat from Book Chat with Pat has really enjoyed T. Kingfisher that she's read. So I thought, oh yeah, I need to give T. Kingfisher a try. And I'm so glad that I did, because I think having read 2 now, I will definitely be reading more. And I can see her becoming one of those authors that she becomes one of those favourites that I go back to, I think. So yeah, T. Kingfisher, definitely one that I will be exploring more of, and probably soon. Okay, and finally, the book that I'm most looking forward to that comes out in the second half of 2025. This one, there is only one book that I've really got my eye on, and I will be buying this day one. And that is Brigands and Bread Knives by Travis Baldree. This is the next in the Legends and Lattes kind of series. We've had Legends and Lattes, Bookshops and Bone Dust, which was kind of a prequel, and now we've got Brigands and Bread Knives, and that comes out on November 13th. And I loved the first 2. They're so fun. They're fantastic, cozy horror. Hello, Dee. Come on, then. Up you come. Come on. If you're going to interrupt, you've got to get on camera. Come on. There we go. Good girl. So yeah, really looking forward to that. I only found out about that relatively recently, and I was like, fantastic. So there we go, a little wrap up of my 2025 reading so far. As I say, a really good 6 months, and I hope that the next 6 months are, continue to be as enjoyable. I'm not at all tempted to try and pick up the pace or anything. I'm enjoying this for me very chilled pace of reading, and just mood reading, picking things up as I see stuff and I go, oh, I fancy that, starting it. No schedules. I do have some buddy reads coming up in the latter 6 months of the year, which I'm looking forward to. But other than that, I'm just all in on the mood reading, really. So thank you very much for watching today, folks. Do let me know in the comments how your reading is going so far in 2025 and what your favourites have been so far. I'll be back soon with some more videos, some stuff on Trash Tales and Garb August, and a reading ramble to wrap up what I've read in the last month or so. So I do hope you'll tune in for those videos when they drop. But from me, for now, that's ta-ra.